welcome to Over the Bar's new series, The Set Piece. It's our very first episode debuting on YouTube. And obviously, very special guest first up, and one that I'm really looking forward to, being a Rochdale fan as well. So, welcome, Stephen Humphrys. Welcome to The Set Piece. How you doing?
Cheers, thank you. Yeah, happy to be here. Looking forward to it. Yeah.
Good. How's lockdown 3 been treating you now? We're like nearly 2 months into it.
Do you know what? I think a lot of people have struggled with it, and I can totally understand why they've struggled with it. My social life is even though I've come back home, is absolutely like, apart from playing on my PlayStation with my mates, apart from that, like it's just gone downhill. But the fact that I can still train every day and I'm still playing football matches sort of it's kept me going, definitely. And obviously I've started up my YouTube and Twitch now, so it's like I'm constantly doing things. So and with moving into my new house as well, I've got a lot of jobs to do, and I've been getting cracking with my house. So for me, like, lockdown, it's, I don't want to say it's been a blessing in disguise, but it's probably been like my best form of football that I've been in my career. And I think mainly that is because I'm focusing a lot more on football. I'm focusing a lot more on being happier off the pitch now that I'm back home. So for me, lockdown's been quite good, quite a positive experience for me personally.
Yeah, and obviously, like you're saying, it's probably a welcome distraction, having the football to concentrate on rather than a lot of people who are like either working from home or being stuck indoors. So it's a great distraction for you to have. Obviously, you tested positive over Christmas for COVID, so I imagine that was a bit, obviously, a massive distraction away from football. But obviously, you came back from that quick. Did you hit a good bit of form?
Yeah, I kept myself fit as much as I could. My garden's big enough to do some football type training, and that was one of the main things when I was buying a house. I wanted to make sure I had a space to work if I needed to, football wise. So I kept myself fit, doing some ball work and doing some running. So like, for me, I didn't really lose any fitness over when I was isolating. I didn't have any symptoms, so it was just a case of keep yourself fit, and then as soon as you're allowed to come back, be in the best possible shape that I could be. And because I did that, I didn't really notice any difference when I came back. It was as if I've not really been. It's not, not like I've been off. So yeah, I did the best I could.
Yeah, you definitely come back and obviously banging form at the minute. Obviously, we'll come back to like the current season later on in the show. But what I want to talk about, obviously, before we get into like this season and other little bits and bobs like that, is probably look at your early years as a football fan. So, in terms of the young Stephen Humphrys, what was your earliest footballing memory?
My earliest one was probably I started playing football when I was like 4 or 5 years old with my dad. We just used to go for a kickabout on the front, and he'd take me on the field across the road from my house, and we just used to mess about playing football. And then I think he realised that I was probably better than the average player when I was about 7 years old. So he took me to my local team at the time, which was Hayside Juniors, and my best mate was a year older than me, and we'd like sort of grown up together, went to the same nursery. Our parents were friends, and he played for Hayside Juniors. And I tried out there for that team, and I just went round just kicking everyone and shoulder barging everyone, not realizing like that's not the game. I just well, this is what I'm being told that I did anyway. I can't really remember it, but I definitely enjoyed the physical side of the game when I was a kid, and then obviously because it was a year up, players were a little bit more developed than me, so my parents actually formed a team. So it was Chaddy End, which is they're like a proper club. They've got real age groups, like from like 8, 9, 10s, 11s, so all the way up to a men's team. And my mum and dad decided to take over the age group, which I was in at the time, which I think was under 8s. And we had, so the year above had Ryan Kent, who's at Rangers now. And quite a lot of players have played for Chaddy End. So Adam Phillips, who's at Accrington Stanley now on loan from Burnley, Lewis Hardcastle that's at Barrow, we had a lot of players basically that were in the academy system, and we just used to win everything. And I was the captain of the team, and I would say most of the time I was a standout player then, and that was my earliest football memory. Just my dad taking me on the field, eventually starting up their own team and just winning every game. 8, 9, 10 years old, we barely ever lost. We'd win games like 10, 11-0 most times. I think one game we won 21-0, and I scored 11 goals from centre mid at the time because I used to be a centre midfielder. So earliest memory was probably with my dad, and then my mum was actually the manager of the football team. So and my mum actually has a really good football brain. A lot of people have this thing that women don't know about football, but in my mum's case, it's the complete opposite. She really knows her stuff and put together a really good team. So yeah, I had a really good upbringing in terms of football. I'd say the first football memory that I can properly remember was David Beckham scoring the free kick against Greece. And was it Greece? Who was it?
The Old Trafford one.
Yeah, the one to qualify. Yeah. I remember he scored that free kick, and I had a Beckham 7 shirt, that exact kit. And I just remember going outside on the front. I must have only been like 5, 6 years old, and just literally copying that free kick all day, and like till I had to come in, basically. So earliest football memory, probably that one.
Yeah, so I was trying to think as well what mine were. Obviously, kind of like rest of your early years. I remember when I was at like high school in year 7, we got beat like 21-1 in year 7.
Sure you weren't playing against us? Sure you weren't playing against my team?
No, I think I went to Boulderstone in Rochdale. We played against Miditech, and they absolutely battered us. And then I can't remember if it was year 8 or year 9. We went back, and 2 of their players got sent off for scrapping with each other, like Lee Bowyer, Kieran Dyer kind of style. So that's kind of like what I can remember. But obviously, I'm a little bit older than you, so I think the first time I really got into football, and my memory was France '98, and just remembering Beckham kicking out Simeone. That's probably like, I think I'm a bit too young for '96.
Yeah, I was only 1 year old then. I was born in '97, so a bit before my time.
Yeah, just before you, weren't it? But away from like your childhood football on the pitch, so when you were a lot younger, did you get to many games like live? Like, who did you go to watch out in particular?
So I'm from Oldham, so my dad sort of brought me up. I wouldn't say to be an Oldham fan, but definitely to be proud of where he was from. And my first match that I ever went to was Oldham versus Man City in the FA Cup, and Oldham beat City 1-0. And I think Sean Wright Phillips had 2 goals disallowed, and Oldham won 1-0. And that was my first match that I ever went to with my dad. And honestly, like you just can't explain that, like that magic feeling. Like I remember walking up the steps, and obviously because Man City were in the Premier League at the time and Oldham weren't, it was like a sellout crowd. And obviously with them being local rivals, even though they were probably a couple of divisions up, it was just, honestly, it was absolutely magical. And then Oldham won 1-0, and just like the best day of my life up to that point. I couldn't believe how, and from that day then I just completely fell in love with football. I must have been 5, 6 years old, and that's like the day I knew, like, I just love football.
Yeah, I think like you made a good point there about your dad saying about being proud of where you're from, and I think that's when my old man took me to watch Rochdale when I was a lot younger. I must have been about 4 or 5, and I remember my first game being against, I think it was Mansfield, and just being in the sandy lane and being sat on one of the rails at the front, and just remember being like absolutely bitten by the live football bug, and just like pretty much begging to go every single week. And like I say, it's like memories like that you're always going to remember, like your first live game, and it.
Yeah, definitely. I can remember like the exact area that I sat in. It was the Chaddy End, which is, funnily enough, like I said, it was the team name that that I ended up playing for. I was sat in the Chaddy End, and quite high up, and I was tiny, man. I was like I said, 4 or 5 years old. And I just remember like my dad lifting me up when Oldham scored, because even though he wasn't really an Oldham fan, it was more like a day for me to experience football. My dad's more of a rugby fan.
Yeah.
And he always used to go and watch Oldham Ruffians. So like he was an Oldham fan, but of the rugby team. So sort of transferred it to football. And him and my mum used to go watching Oldham Ruffians like all over the country, wherever they were playing. I never actually went to a rugby game with them. My sisters did. But yeah, I was definitely. I don't know. Maybe if I would have gone to a rugby game, I might have fallen in love with rugby early doors. But it's a good job I didn't.
Yeah, so the football side's definitely worked out for you, hasn't it? So you've obviously made the right choice there.
Well, yeah, my dad made the right choice where he took me.
Yeah, sounds like it definitely. Just to kind of like start focusing on your career, then. So obviously, at a young age, you've been picked up by Fulham, and that's where you've kind of started to come through the ranks. And you've had long spells at Shrewsbury. Then you had your first spell at Rochdale, and then on to Scunthorpe, and then you made that permanent switch to Southend. So January 2019, midway through the season. So that was a big move for you in terms of your career, like geographically, and also it was like a permanent transfer. So how did you feel about that move at the time, and obviously leaving Fulham, who were quite a big club at the time, because what did that yo-yo in between Championship and Premier League?
Yeah, so the year I joined Fulham, Fulham were in the Premier League, and I'd joined like a big Premier League club. And that season they got relegated to the Championship. So it went from like I was seeing Dimitar Berbatov and like Steve Sidwell, Scott Parker. I was seeing people like that in and around the training ground every single day. It was like, I mean, I'd signed from Bury, and you know what? Like, I'm not going to lie. I didn't, at the time, I was 15 years old, and I didn't know any of the first team players at Bury. Like, didn't know any of the names or anything. And I only watched Premier League football, Champions League football. So I didn't know any players from Bury, and then signed for Fulham, and I knew every single player. And it was like, oh, wow, like Kieran Richardson. When I grew up, I was a Man United fan growing up properly. And I saw him, and it was just like Brian Ruiz, who was just like just these well-known players who were just like, I couldn't believe that I was seeing them every day. And then they all left literally after that one season. And then we just started signing players I'd never heard of. And it was weird. It was definitely like, for me, it was I was homesick, I would say, for the first. In fact, I never really got over the homesickness. I say I managed to start dealing with it after the first 2 years, but the first year, I mean, I remember signing for Fulham in the summer, and my mum came down with me, and I was happy. They're staying in nice hotels. They put you up in a 5-star hotel, and everything's paid for. Pick you up, and you get chauffeur service, all this. And then I remember like the day my mum finally left me to go back home because she's got a job and I've got to start living with a Diggs family. I remember like just sat in my Diggs room at the time, and I just thought, what have I done? I'm just not ready for this. I just remember being so scared. And I was a mummy's boy. I still am, really. And I just remember crying all night. And I rang my mum, and she was crying, but she kept it together this whole time. And I thought, wow, my mum's not even like, she's not even bothered. And then I rang her when she got home, and she was just crying her eyes out. So it was as much as like I wanted to sign for Fulham, it was definitely a massive changing point in my life where I just had to grow up really quickly. And then just to move on to like when I eventually joined Southend, it was a weird one because at the time I was with my old agents. I won't say who they were, but I was with my old agents, and they sort of did me over because I found out that a championship club at the time had told my agents, wait till the summer, so the summer of 2019, and we'll take him because I'll be on. I only had 6 months left at Fulham with an option of another year, but I think Fulham would have ended up letting me go anyway. So yeah, this championship club said, look, we'll take him in the summer, just wait. And my agent at the time just didn't tell me about that. I wasn't aware of it, and told me that basically Southend are like the only club that just take the deal. And I think there was a financial benefit for them, for my agents at the time. So it was a rush decision to sign for Southend, I'd say, but one that I don't regret.
Yeah, so you definitely had a good spell there. It was only 18 months, but you've obviously left a lasting impression. Like watching you on Twitch and looking at the comments on your YouTube videos, you've obviously left a huge impression. That goal that you scored against Sunderland on the final day to keep them up. So it was a goal I saw the other day, like preparing for this, and obviously you've never, from what I've seen anyway, you don't score many tap-ins, but that was a tap-in that you scuffed in that day, and it was the Southend fans will always remember that goal. But yeah, in terms of Southend, you look back on that time then like fondly.
Yeah, I'd say like when I first joined, I signed under Chris Powell, and he was the main reason why I joined. I mean, I think we were 5 or 6 points off the playoffs with some games in hand. And I joined a club where I'd been told, look, you're going to be the main striker. We're going to be pushing for promotion. We're only 5 points with a game in hand off promotion. And then I played the first 5 games. I scored 5 in 5 or 5 in 4, something like that. And then ended up smashing my face in, and I was out for months and months. And in that time, Chris Powell got sacked. So it was like everything that I'd signed for the club for. The reason I signed was because of Chris Powell. He convinced me. He was a great guy, good manager, really good man management. You know, I can't really speak highly enough of Chris Powell. And then he got sacked, which I thought was harsh. I mean, we had 12 injured players, 12 injured first team players at the time, and yeah, we were struggling with form. But I was injured. There was, people who were like seasoned pros who were pretty much, I'd say 7 or 8 of the 12 that were injured were starting players, and he got sacked in that time. So I went from one extreme to another, where we had a manager come in who I wouldn't say particularly like. I don't think he liked me for whatever reason. In Kevin Bond, and it went downhill from there. I think from that stage, from the chairman at Southend appointing Kevin Bond, I think the whole club went down. Even though we managed to stay up on the last day of the season, I'd say it just went downhill from there.
Yeah, say Kevin Bond's been one of those. He's never really struck me as a number one. He always seems like a good assistant manager and a good number two. But when he got that Southend job, I kind of thought it was a job that probably wasn't suitable for him, and he obviously told in the end. And so ultimately, Southend were relegated a year after. Obviously, due to the pandemic, the season cut short. Looking back on your time, do you see your stint at Southend as a success?
Not really. I'd say I went to Southend with a lot to prove, and I didn't prove it. I started off, and I thought this is going exactly how I want it to go. Like, I'm doing exactly what I came here for, and then I got the injury. And my surgeon at the time said you need 12 months of no running, no bike work, like absolutely nothing. You need to just your first few months need to be in bed bound, and then for a year you need to just do nothing. And I remember on the 9th week, so imagine I'm supposed to have a year off. The 9th week out of 52, I remember the chairman ringing me like, "How are you feeling?" I said, pretty not. I don't feel good. Probably the worst physically I've ever felt. I was bed bound. I'd done nothing, which was the advice from the surgeon. And I remember him just saying like, "We need you. Can you come back and play?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, my face is like 10% healed." And I spoke to the physio at Southend, and Ben Clarkson. I can't speak highly enough of Ben Clarkson. He was like, "Look, it's up to you." And I'd say I felt a lot of pressure from the powers that be at Southend to come back and playing the matches for the remainder of the season. And I was overweight because I wasn't able to exercise. I remember I'd been in bed for a week straight, like every night, taking cordridamols to numb the pain so I could just sleep. And then I got a text saying you're in tomorrow. On a Sunday night, I got a text saying that you're in tomorrow, and this was probably 11 weeks, 12 weeks after my injury. And I was like, oh God, okay. So travelled down the next morning, had to get up at about 5 a.m., travelled down to Southend. And I remember I was obviously doing a completely different session to the lads who've been playing and training. And I jogged around the pitch once and threw up because it was just like such a shock to my system. And I thought, there's just no way I can come back and make an impact here. Like I need to just tell him, like, I need to tell the chairman, I need to tell the physio, the manager. There's no way I can do anything. And I remember telling the physio, Ben Clarkson, I said, look, I'm going to be useless here. And then whatever went on behind the scenes, I don't know. But I was told that I had to stay and keep training and keep myself fit. I'd say in that Sunderland game, I'd say I was like 30% fit. I'd say I was definitely overweight. In terms of like, I put on too much muscle because I'd started to try and like build some muscle back, and whenever I touch like a dumbbell or anything, I just go massive. So like I'd say I was more a rugby player build for that game, and then I just wasn't ready for it, and it was a weird time period. But thankfully, obviously, a lot of people who watch the game know that managed to score that goal and kept Southend up, and that was just pure relief more than anything. And I thought I might get like a well done or whatever from the higher ups at Southend, and it was literally like I scored that goal and then I didn't get any contact from anyone until we came back in, and it was like. So I don't know. Southend was a weird club. There was like they've got really passionate fans. The fans are really good. The players, all the players were class. I'd just say it was a strange club in terms of the decisions that were made for the club were just they were poor decisions, I thought, and ultimately it ended up with relegation.
Yeah, and when you're saying then about not even getting a thank you, pretty much like it's a bit of a shame, really, considering like the money that obviously it's not like $1 million like League One, but the money between League One and League Two, with the size of the teams that are in League One, like your Sunderlands, Ipswiches, and Hulls, the away followings is going to generate a lot of money. So to keep Southend in the league for another year was going to be a huge financial boost, and for you to not even get a thank you on the back of that, it's personally I think that's quite poor form, but it's one of those, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I think I was probably quite foolishly expecting at least a text message, like you say, and I never got one. So probably sounds like sour grapes that I didn't get a text. Like I wasn't bothered. It didn't make me not want to be at Southend. I just thought like I'd pushed my body and my mind really, because I remember I went up for a header in training, and I had this mask on which was just rock hard, and my nose was literally on the other side of my face, so it was that broken. I couldn't breathe through it. It was like completely bent. Like it just looked horrendous. Like there's probably pictures of it somewhere, but it looked horrendous, and it was on the other side of my face. So I had this mask with like an L-shaped nose in the middle to put my nose in, and it was rock hard. I remember I went up for a header, and someone literally just, as defenders do, they put their arm up and it whacked me in the face, and I thought my nose was just going to fall off. Like it was completely, it hurt so much that my nose started bleeding. And from then on, like mentally, I never ever wanted to put my head near a ball. I was hoping that the ball wouldn't come near me. I thought, like, even in the Sunderland game, to be honest, I thought I just want, like, I'd love to get a tap in here, but I don't want the ball to come near me, because I was so scared of someone smacking me in my face with, like I said, my face was healed probably 30%. So like if I didn't have that mask on, I could have I already did seriously damage my face, but I could have made like permanent, irreversible damage to my face.
Yeah, and then obviously fast forward to almost the next season at Southend, and then we rolled to the summer in the midst of the pandemic, and Rochdale then spending quite a lot. Well, it felt like an absolute eternity chasing your signature before you eventually pen that 2-year deal. Several clubs from what we're led to believe were rumoured to be after you at the time, but when Rochdale came in for you, how quickly did that move come about, and did that first spell back in 2018 have any bearing on you coming signing for the club?
I'd say in terms of did it have any bearings? Yes, because I met Brian Barry Murphy when I first came here, and I really liked him as a friend. I really liked his coaching, because he was coaching at the time as well as like a player coach. And there was times when I wasn't starting or I wasn't involved in matches, and he'd take the session on a Friday for the lads who weren't in the starting 11. So like we'd do like small sided games, passing drills, and I really liked his energy and how he did things, and always made me feel like he always made me feel rated. I always felt like even though I'm not starting, I know this guy really rates me. So for me, like I always, and then obviously when Southend played Rochdale, Rochdale beat us 4-0, and it was the best football I'd seen from a League One team ever. Like we got. I mean, there was a goal that I think might have been Aaron Morley, or in fact, I think Ian Henderson scored a tap in. But one of the goals that Rochdale scored was like, I just thought that is like Premier League style football. And I thought, wow, imagine what it's like to play in a team where you get chances to score, because Southend, we were rock bottom. Any goals that I'd scored, I felt like I created myself from like getting the ball deep, beating someone, or it had to be sort of a wonder goal or a free kick or something like that. And then watching that football, I thought, wow, that must be nice, to just get a tap in where it's put on a plate for you. So yeah, that definitely had a bearing in me coming. But I'd say the move actually took a lot longer than people think. I remember I actually, because I kept in contact with the manager, Brian Barry Murphy. I kept in contact because we were friends. I remember texting him and I just said, do you need a striker? Like, I just said, like, what do you think the chances are? And like, I think he had to go through my agents to do it all properly. Like, I probably shouldn't have texted him that. So he then made contact with my agents, I think, or the club made contact with Southend, and then it literally took weeks and weeks of like I submitted a transfer request to Southend because it got to a stage where Rochdale had made like 4 bids for me, and there was just no sign of them accepting it, even though I told the chairman that I wanted to leave. So it actually took a lot longer than I thought, and I didn't even think it had come off in the end. But thankfully it did.
Yeah, and it was one when I saw the stories at the time. The thing that surprised me is like Rochdale aren't used to spending money on players. We're used to getting loans, freebies from like the whole like broken toys thing that was famous under Hill. So obviously it's a great deal of faith shown in you by the club to invest the money into you. And is that something you felt as well at the time? Like were you aware that Rochdale spending money that they usually don't spend to sign you?
Yeah, I was definitely aware of it. They were the first club to make a formal bid. First club to sort of really say like I knew that once I was given permission to speak to Rochdale, I knew that I was going to be highly thought of. I knew I'd play a lot. I knew I was being brought in as, they want me to be the main goal scorer, even though Matty Lund won't let me catch him up every time I score, he scores. But yeah, they wanted me to come in and be the main goal scorer, and I just really felt wanted by Rochdale before anyone else. Like I said, the fact that I've been here made a difference, and yeah, selfishly, the fact that it's 10 minutes down the road from home, and I'm homesick. I'm a northern lad. I'm Lancashire born and bred, so like for me to come home, it was like it was massive for me, and I knew that if I was happy off the pitch, that I'd play better. And I'm just so much happier off the pitch, and I'm so much more focused with on my football, and everything's just better since I've come here. My whole life's changed completely. I mean, I spoke to a couple of people. Like we have a guy coming in who's like a psychiatrist type thing. So we speak to him, and I said, like, I know that I'm happier because when I was at Southend, when I was at Fulham, there'd be songs on the radio, and I'd think, oh, get this off. Like Capital Radio would be on, and I couldn't stand any songs. I thought, get it off. Like I'd drive into training with no music on, miserable. And now every morning, it don't matter what song's on. Like I turn the music up, I'm happy. I like every song that comes on, and I know that exact song, if that was on last year when I was at Southend, I wouldn't like it. So for me, like even just little things like that are like proof that I'm just so much happier in my life.
Yeah, and it's definitely showing your performances on the pitch. Obviously, you got that injury early doors game to Portsmouth, didn't you? And you were out, was it about 6 weeks or so? With the knee injury, and you've come back in.
I think it was longer than that. I think it was about 10, 11 weeks, actually.
After, yeah. So, because of lockdown, so I kind of like blurred into one, but like, you've come back in, really hit the ground running, and say you missed such a substantial period of time. You're on 8 league goals for the season. So, how do you feel like performance-wise you're doing at the minute?
I'd say it's the best I've been performing in my career, and the most consistent I've been. But I still only think like I'm I'm 70% of what I know I'm capable of. I think the way the team plays helps me a lot. I think like I'm getting a lot more chances to score these goals. And like I said, 8 in 13 or whatever. Like for me, that's my best record so far. But when I was at Fulham in the 23s now, I know it's completely different level, but we played the type of football that we play here at Rochdale. And the last time I was in the 23 setup at Fulham, I'd scored 12 in 7. So like I know that I can be a goal scorer, and I know my conversion rate can be high when given the chances, and when I don't have to drop deep and beat 2 or 3 men to try and score a goal. Like the last goal that I scored for Southend was like I got the ball in my own half, dribbled up the pitch, beat a man, and shot from about 30 yards, and that was my last goal. And they were like, it seemed like they were the only goals that I was going to score at Southend, whereas here I feel like there's a chance to score two or three goals every game.
Yeah, say Rochdale, like, is it joint second top scorers in League One? So they're obviously doing something right at the top end of the pitch, aren't they? And putting them on a plate for you. And obviously, you're putting them in, doing the job, and so is Matty London. Everyone seems to be chipping in at the minute, which is always good to see. Just like look at the contrast between your two spells then. So the first time around, it was Keith Hill that brought you in from Fulham. Obviously, we talked about Brian Barry Murphy bringing you back this time. So obviously, a change of manager. It seemed, from a fan point of view, a very contrasting change in terms of managerial as well. We had Keith Hill, who's very elaborate, outspoken, very out there with some of the things he was saying and animated on the touchline. Now we've got Brian Barry Murphy, who seems a lot quieter, reserved, more methodical. Are there any similarities between the two, or are they completely different?
Yeah, they're completely different. I can't think of any similarities, to be honest. Keith Hill was effective, then he got results, and when I was here, he stayed up. I like Keith Hill. I got on with him. I think he was definitely, like you say, an outspoken character, and some people liked him, some people didn't. I personally liked him, and I thought he was a good manager. I just think, personally, I think the way that Brian manages our team is it's like ahead of his time in terms of that's how the game's going to go. Like that's how in 10 years' time, that's how teams at the top of the Premier League will be managed. In my opinion, anyway, his man management skills are like, I've never met anyone who, he calls me after matches. I know he calls other people. When I was off with COVID, he FaceTimed me. Like, I know it sounds pretty basic, but managers just don't do that. You don't get that level of one-to-one, that relationship. You just don't get it. Even like when you're an academy player, you don't get that kind of, and he's the same with everyone. It's not just me. Whether you're playing or not, you still feel like the manager likes you and he values you as a human being. Whereas like at other clubs where if you're not performing, you're not playing well, and you're not playing, you feel like the manager doesn't like me as a person, because you just feel like a number. Like you just feel like you're just a cog in a system that's not working. So there you go to the side. Whereas with Brian, like he just, for me anyway, in my opinion, and a lot of every lad shares the opinion that everyone still likes him and feels liked by him, whether you're starting, you're on the bench, or you're not even in the squad. And I think that's very rare to find.
Yeah, and obviously from the outside looking in, obviously you've shared about what Brian's like with the players, and from outside looking in, it does look like a very happy camp, a real strong like team spirit. Obviously, it feels like watching games. You guys are ready to run through brick walls for each other, and the never say die attitude, which is always great to see, especially when we were 3-0 down against Crewe the other week. Start second half, as soon as that first goal went in, I think the belief in you guys, it always felt like you could get something from that game. Is that the case?
Yeah, 100%. I remember when I got that goal, because it's been given to me now, the first goal against Crewe. Yeah, finally. When I got that goal, I sort of just sensed it, and I think everyone else knew. I remember Paul McShane running behind me because he was in the box for some reason, and he said, "That's the one, Humps. That's the first one. Like we've got this now," and like everyone just sort of knew we were gonna go on to I actually thought we were going to go on to win it. That's how much I believed in us. But we managed to get the point. But I actually thought with the togetherness and, like you say, everyone's willing to run through a brick wall for each other, that you're not going to stop us now. And we won that half 3-0, which, like, usually if you win a half 3-0, you win the game. Do you know what I mean? So, it was definitely, there was plenty of positives to take from that match.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, it was part of that run of fixtures where we were just like goals left, right, and centre. Obviously, for and against us, to a point where we were pretty much making headlines in like BBC and Sky for being like the most entertaining team in England at the time. So yeah, it was great to watch. If you're a neutral, obviously from a fan point of view, it's quite nerve wracking not knowing if you're going to be able to hold on to a lead or fighting back from like 3-0 down, for example. But yeah, what are them games like to take part in? The ones that are like proper end to end and like full of goals, like from a player perspective.
Not like, I think it's worse when you're watching it. When you're playing, it's just football and like, oh, they've scored, oh, we've scored now, brilliant, oh, they've scored, or we've, like, you know what I mean? When you're watching it, it's like, oh my God, what is going on? But when you're just playing, it's like everything's in the moment. You don't get time to think, you don't get time to sulk, you don't get time to be happy, you don't get time to feel relief. The only time you feel the only time you can, I wouldn't say sulk, but the only time you can be upset is after the final whistle. The only time that you can be happy is after the final whistle, and it all depends on the result. I think when you're playing, you're that focused and trying to get the best possible outcome in the game, that, like, if it's 10-9, it's not like you can win the game 10-9, and on the pitch it just feels like a football match. Watching it back, obviously it's different. Someone watching the sidelines or on iFollow or whatever, it's completely different. But when you're playing, it's just football. And we train in training. It's always like, at every club that you go to, if you have like small-sided games, they end up like 8-6. The matches are like, there's always loads of goals. So it's like, once the ball goes in the net from either team, it's like, right, okay, we go again, whether you concede or score. So it's, those principles are just transferred into a match.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that, especially like you're saying about the training games. I imagine a lot of high scoring games there. And just kind of go back to the point about BBM. You say the relationship he has with the players, and we kind of touched about like 3-0 at half time. It kind of, from a fan perspective, when you watch his interviews, he seems from the outside like very laid back in his interviews, and he always gives the impression he's a very positive, like, manager, always looking at the positives regardless of the result. Is that what he's actually like behind the scenes, or does he actually have it in him to give you guys a bit of a dressing down, like Fergie's hairdryer treatment?
I wouldn't say we get the hairdryer treatment, but I would say the way he is, this I can only speak from my opinion. I would say the way he is more effective in terms of, he lets you know when, if you're not applying what we've been working on for an attitude reason or a tired reason or something mental, you feel like you've let him down. And I think personally that's more effective. It's almost like you've let like a family member down and you want to like impress them. You want to, like, I mean, I remember we were 3-0 up at our time against Plymouth, and it could have been 3-3, it could have been 4-4. Like, we gave them chances, and we managed to come in at half time 3-0. And I remember coming in and I thought, like, oh yes, 3-0 up, like, manager's going to be buzzing, everyone come in high-fiving each other, well done lads, let's see it out now. Everyone was so happy, like 3-0 up. And he come in and I don't know how much of this I can say, but I don't think he'll mind me saying, he just said, look lads, I'm not going to, a lot of managers do this for dramatic effect. You're 3-0 up, a lot of managers come in here and he just said, look, it's not good enough. The chances that we gave away were not good enough. If you do that in the second half, we will lose this match, because we can't keep saving, we can't keep blocking, they can't keep missing. It's not good enough. And we was like, wow, like, yeah, he's right. Like, yeah, we gave away so many chances then. What if they all went in? We could have come in here at 4-3 at half time. Now, don't get me wrong, we had other chances as well. We could have scored, which we missed. And I thought, like, he genuinely isn't doing this for dramatic effect. He means this. We have got to tighten up. We've got to work harder. We've got to run harder. And then second half, we did exactly that, and we won 4-0. So it worked.
Yeah, it's quite. Obviously, again, we keep saying, but from a fan perspective, that's really like refreshing to hear. Obviously, not settling for 3-0. I'm sure a lot of managers at that level would have like snap around for 3-0 at half time. Like I said, just see it out in the second half. And obviously, it's great to hear that he's obviously not happy with that. Football as a whole at the minute as well, like massively different. The last coming up to 12 months now, aren't we, of lockdown restrictions? So obviously, football is a very different game at the elite level. Would it be fair to say that there's like no longer home and away advantages when it comes to football? Like, is it say like going Sunderland away feel like a less daunting trip without fans, or?
I'd say the only advantage is that if it's a far trip that you have to travel, you have to stay in the hotel, you have to shake off the journey from your legs, and I'd say that is literally it. In terms of not having fans there, whenever we're playing an away team, we're just not intimidated at all because there's no fans there. When you go into the games, there's no fans. When you get off the coach, there's no one giving you grief or whatever. So yeah, it's a lot. I'd say it's a lot easier to play away. Like you could play Man United at Old Trafford, and it wouldn't be a quarter of as intimidating as if there were 70,000 people there. So the only advantage I'd say of playing at home is that teams have to travel to you. So if we were playing, for example, Portsmouth, they've got to do the big journey. We're just at home the night before. We travel from wherever we live, which is usually local. So I'd say the only difference is the traveling. But yeah, I mean, some lads probably prefer playing without fans, but personally, I think the quicker we can get fans back in, the better, especially for home games.
Yeah, and when you were saying then about the away trips, the first vlog you did, it was the Charlton away game, weren't it? And I was like really shocked to see like you guys are not allowed to sit next to each other on the coaches. You're not allowed to be in the same bedrooms. Like if you want to like chill and watch them on TV. How much is like that having an impact on the away game? Like teams, obviously, we talked about the team spirit being strong, but how different are those away trips at the minute?
Yeah, we don't really get a chance to speak to each other much. I mean, we're very active in the group chat. We're always, putting stupid pictures in or chatting to each other in the group chat, but we don't really get to socialise with each other unless it's on the training pitch because that's the only place we can.
Yeah.
We're in and out. It's turn up, train, go home, and you can't do anything else. So unless you get a water break, drinks break or whatever, you can't really socialize. And even on the way to away trips and stuff, like I said, you just can't really socialize. So, and in the hotels, the only time really we get to socialize is when we're at these hotels and we've got to eat our dinner or whatever, or our breakfast, and even that's socially distanced. So it's still a bit strange, but it might affect some groups, but I don't think it affects us. I think we're all a tight-knit group anyway, and we're not that kind of team we don't really need to have these massive social interactions all the time to get along. And I think we're all on the same wavelength anyway, so I don't think it's affecting us.
I've got to say it's good to hear, obviously. We're obviously hoping that we're entering that final stretch now, aren't we? Hopefully with the vaccines and whatnot, and all being well, we'll get fans back in soon as well. But in terms of COVID, in terms of the day-to-day life of footballer, how much has changed in that last 12 months compared to not being under like non-COVID restrictions?
Yeah, so I mean, a standard day for me would be I'd wake up, I'd go and have my breakfast at the club. We'd sit and have a chat for an hour, eating my breakfast. And we go in the gym and might do some like stretching, and we'd still be chatting there. And then you go out to train, you come back in, you'd have your lunch. People wouldn't leave the training ground. Like we'd finish training and you spend another 2-3 hours at well, some people would, just chatting and like chilling and getting massages from the physios and treatment and all stuff like that. And it's just completely changed. Now it's just, like I said, you wake up, we're in later. Usually we're in at like 8:30, 8:45. Now we're in at like 10 o'clock every day because we don't have that, time now to go in and eat our breakfast and have our massages and stuff like that. So we're just in and out, and it's so strange. Like you just feel like you're at the training ground for an hour and a half, 2 hours every day, and that's it. So like, you almost feel like you're not working as hard, even though you're still doing the same amount of work. You just don't get the social side of it, so you're not at work as long, if that makes sense. Because when you sat there having your lunch, you're obviously not working, but just like you just feel like you are because you're there. So it's like an in and out job, and it's strange at the minute. And I'm definitely missing that. Like, best part of my day was like I liked my morning routine of getting up, going, eating my breakfast, and sitting and chilling with the lads and having a chat for an hour. And we don't get that at the minute, but yeah, hopefully we get it. We're allowed to soon.
Yeah, so the way things are looking and news and stuff, we're hoping it'll be the next season when we're going to be having a bit more normality on it. But fingers crossed that's the case. Just before we start looking at like what you're doing away from the pitch these days, obviously we've touched about on like your social media presence. We'll come back to that in a sec. Sort of be obviously for like Rochdale fans in general and fans of football to talk about the teammates, like the usual questions you might get asked about teammates that you might see like soccer and whatnot. So I'm just going to rattle a few questions at you if that's all right. So just let me know who you think.
Fine.
So who is the best trainer at Dale?
Hands down, Ollie Rathbone. Like you could probably tell that from his match performances.
Yeah.
Every session gives 110%. Just like a man possessed, out of possession to get the ball back. Constantly talking. Runs more than anyone in every session. Does extras. Gets in a bit earlier. Definitely Ollie Rathbone.
Yeah, his energy levels are absolutely ridiculous. Like when you see some of the runs he's making to close somebody down like the 94th minute or something, it's absolutely insane the fitness levels that lad has. Who'd you say the most skillful is in the squad?
Most skillful, I'll probably say the person that is capable of the most skill is Alex Newby, just because he can dribble with. He's right-footed, but it's actually difficult to tell because he dribbles a lot with his left. He can take corners with his left. He can take free kicks and penalties with his left foot. Like, it's hard to tell what footed he is. And not only that, he can do all the skills on both feet. So, like elasticals or step overs, he does it with either foot. So I'd say Alex Newby.
Yeah, so the goal he got against Bristol Rovers, a test how good that left foot is. Another keeper made a bit of an error, but he cut back in on that left, didn't he, and got a good shot away, and obviously got the goal to win the game.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If you watch that clip back, he's dribbling with his left foot, which for a right footer you just don't do. Like, it's like quite unheard of. You don't dribble with your left foot but to have that level of control that he has with either foot is impressive, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of the squad itself, who would you say, like, somebody we might not have seen a lot of potentially, but who would you say has probably got the most potential in that squad?
Definitely Quadro Bar, 100%. I mean, he's only 18, and the performances he's been putting out on the pitch recently are just like he couldn't. I told him before the Wigan game, I said, look, like, you can be the best player in this league, you can be the best player in the Championship, and you can go on to the Premier League, but you've got to apply what you do in training into these matches. You've got to just be confident. Like I said to him, what is the point in not being confident and not expressing yourself? I said, like, so let's say you lose the ball now and like it might be a bit embarrassing for you. You get tackled your first game, whatever. I said, do you think you're going to be bothered about that in 6 months' time? Do you think people are still going to be talking about it? And he's like, no, not no. So I said, get the ball, beat your man, be direct, and use your shot, because people didn't know how good he was at shooting. But when we were injured together, we did some finishing drills, and I was like, this kid has got a rocket on him. Like, I thought he can hit a ball nearly as hard as I can. And like, I've not seen many people hit the ball as hard as he can and with accuracy. So I said, like, cut in and smack it. First thing you do, cut in, smack it. And first thing he did against Wigan, and he'll back me up with that. I did actually say that. The first thing he did against Wigan was cut in, smacked it in the top corner. So, yeah, most potential Quadro, yeah.
Yeah, and like the Wigan goal was impressive. The one that really impressed me was that first goal he got against Charlton. Like, the absolute, like, Paul, who writes for the site as well as a City fan, obviously the rumours about him going to City, and he asked me about Bar and what he's like. I literally sent him the link for the Charlton game and said, like, look at the goals, and that's what you get. And obviously your incredible free kick was sandwiched in between, weren't it? But then some of the goals he's scoring are absolutely ridiculous, aren't they?
Yeah, they're beyond his years and probably beyond the levels of League One as well.
Yeah, so it's quite exciting. Obviously, like I said, only 18, so he's only going to get better, and we'll have to wait and see how far he can actually go in the game.
Yeah.
Just a couple more light-eyed ones. So, who's the biggest joker in the changing room?
I'd say the person who makes me laugh the most is Jake Beasley, and he doesn't even mean to. He's just naturally funny. Like, he's a bit dopey, he'll tell you that himself, but he's just funny. Like, some of the things he comes out with, he doesn't even mean to be. Someone will be saying something, and I can see that he doesn't believe them, and I look at him, and his face is always scrunched up, and he doesn't know he's doing it. But he's just naturally funny. He's one of them people, and he ain't got a bad bone in his body. He's just a top guy, and it's hard to say he's the biggest joker because he doesn't actually joke about everything, but he just makes me laugh more than anyone else. Yeah. So if I'm basing it on that, then I'll go Jake Beasley.
Fair enough. And the final one, who is the biggest manager's pet in the squad?
I'd say again Quadro Bar probably. Some of the stuff that he gets away with because the manager likes him. He's definitely it's defo Quadro. Like when we were injured together, he was quite unfit at the time, and I think if the manager didn't like him, then he would have got some hairdryer treatment off definitely off a different manager. So I would say he's the biggest manager's pet. Yeah.
I say I'm quite surprised. I don't know why. No idea why, but
no, I think the reason it's Quads as well is because like the manager believes in him so much, and obviously rightly so. He's just moving to Man City, like, so. I think the manager sort of protected him a little bit because he saw his potential and what he could achieve, and what he can bring to our team and obviously other teams wherever he's going to go, wherever he ends up in his career. So I think the manager saw his potential and sort of I wouldn't say sheltered, but let him off the hook with things because of his potential and his age as well. He's young, he's still learning. So, but again, like, that's credit to the manager, because some managers would just say, "Oh, he's not for me. He's not playing for me." He can't, I mean, at the time, Quads will even tell you, I wasn't the fittest person in the world, but I in the fitness drills, I was running past him, lapping him, and like for most people, managers would look at that and say, he's not even fit, he's not fit enough. But I think the manager saw his talent and what he's capable of, and gave him more time to get fit, and give him the opportunity, and he's taken it.
Both hands, and he obviously didn't play a lot early doors, but like the last month or so, he's really coming to his own, and really made an impact on the squad. Just to kind of round off, we said earlier on the show about what you're now getting up to away from football. So obviously you've now got your YouTube channel, and you started streaming on Twitch a lot more. We'll obviously the details will be on the bottom of the screen, and we'll put it in the video description if you want to check it out. But you're very active on YouTube now with your match day vlogs, and you're on Twitch quite a lot now with FIFA, Call of Duty and whatnot. So in terms of like what's inspired that move into creating the content and interacting with the fans a lot more?
I've always been a big geek in terms of like, and I'm not afraid to say it's a geek because it is nerdy, but I am in terms of like technology and YouTube and like stuff like, I've always just been very good with technology. Like my gaming setup is just like at the level of like a top YouTuber, top gamer. I've always liked technology. I've always liked. I used to make videos. The first time I made a video was me and my little cousin used to do scooter and BMXing, and I'd make him sit there for hours recording me on my BMX, and then I'd take that home, I'd edit it, and I'd put it on YouTube. It's not on YouTube anymore, but I always had this like obsession with like filming stuff and putting it on YouTube. And I don't know, I just liked editing. Like I can even now I sit there and I'll put something on that's like 45 minutes to an hour long on how to edit better, or how to make your gaming setup better, or how to get better sound quality out of your streams and stuff like that. So most people will get in and put the TV in on. Most people will get in and put the TV on, I'll get in and I'll put YouTube on and I'll watch some tutorials, and that's how I pass my time. So I've always liked it. I've always wanted to do it. I'd just say I've never really had the confidence to do it until now, because I'd say the clubs that I've been at in the past, it just wasn't accepted. Like, it was like, you're a footballer, be a footballer, that's it. So in other words, just be a robot, which I'm not. So I'd say this is the first club I've been at where I felt comfortable enough to be myself. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure people still say things like, why is he doing that? Or some people might find it cringe or whatever. But to me, I love doing it. And I know the fans, like, I know what the main reason I do it is because I think, God, imagine if like, not saying I'm anyone's idol, but when I grew up, I was a Man United fan. So I'm thinking, God, imagine if one of the Man United players did YouTube and live stream. Like, God, I'd absolutely love that. Like, to see what they do, and to be able to interact with them on a live chat on Twitch. Like, I think, wow. So if I can give that feeling to a fan of Rochdale or a football fan in general, then I'm all for it, and that's why I do it.
Yeah, and the response has been, like, from what I've seen, is like overwhelmingly positive. Like, your subscribers are shot through the roof on YouTube. You only had the channel like about a month, haven't you? And Twitch, you always seem very busy. Like, you average quite a lot of viewers on there as well. So obviously, it's very positive from a fan perspective. And as long as the club are happy, then obviously it makes you happy doing that as well. And that's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, after every vlog I put on, the manager comes in every morning and says to everyone, "Have you seen the vlog? Seen the vlog? It's class. The vlog's class." Like, he loves watching it, and I think his girlfriend as well has commented on it, because his girlfriend's got a background in TV and, you know, stuff.
Yeah.
So she says, like, it's great what I'm doing, and they enjoy it. So, you know, if the manager enjoys it, then I must be doing something right. But yeah, definitely at a club now where, I mean, I've even spoke to like David Bottomley and people higher up at Rochdale, and they're all for it, because it only portrays the club in a positive light. And yeah, as long as the fans like it, I'll carry on doing it, and that's as simple as it is.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Like I said, everyone seems to be enjoying it. So obviously, keep up the good work with that. The YouTube videos are a really good insight into what football's like during COVID, and the Twitch is really entertaining as well. And it's allowing a lot of fans to interact with players that, well, yourself particularly, that they don't normally get to do. So, yes, really good to obviously keep up the good work with that. We'll wrap it up there for the show. But thank you again, Steve, for giving up your time, and it's really very appreciated. I'm sure the fans will really appreciate a lot of the honesty and the answers you've given, and we really appreciate as well giving up your time to talk to me today. Before we go, I'll just give you the details for the website as always. So if you want to check us out in the meantime, our website is oldtvfootball.net. Plenty of content on there daily about pretty much anything to do with football you're interested in. We've probably got something on there about it. Also, we're very active on Twitter at OverTheBarFB, and also on YouTube as well. We've now got the URL for the YouTube channel of OverTheBarFB after the slash. Stephen, before we go, do you want to share with the guys like your Twitch username, YouTube, and whatnot to get you a follow?
Yeah, so it's on Twitter, it's at Humphries Stevie. On Twitch, it's big_humps, and on YouTube, it's just big humps. So yeah, that's it. But no, I've really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, and look forward to listening to plenty more podcasts of whoever else you get on.
Yeah, well, again, thanks very much for coming on. And also, guys, if you're new to watching what we do on the YouTube channel, we've got the League One show every week that I present with Max. So obviously, if you're a fan of Stevens and Rochdale and whatnot, we have that show every week for you to watch. And Mark and Rory have the Bundesliga show every single week. So if you're an English-speaking German football fan, check those guys out every week as well. They've got some great content at the minute. We really appreciate the subscribes and whatnot. So obviously, get on there. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you all very soon.